Okay, welcome to another power struggle in Star-Crossed Kings. DBMB, the king, after a very short reign, decided to forfeit, and we are now going to see Barton and T3dgO contend for the next Star-Crossed Kings throne. We've got Barton playing as Oster in the north, T3dgO, member of Easy Geek Clan, playing as Soviets in the south, and we're going to see Mechanized Assault, Mobile Defense, Lightning War versus Guard Motor Coordination, Soviet Shock Army, and Terror Tactics. So, slightly interesting loadout here from Easy Geek or T3dgO. I would be rather surprised to see either of these two. I'm expecting guard motor on this particular map. You really want to have long range infantry on crossing in the woods. Fully expect to see some guards, PTRSs. We are going to see a double conscript opening from T3dgO going hard right, and tier 1 opening. Tier 1. So we're probably going to see some snipers. Snipers also perform quite well on this map. Curious to see what he's going to do. Barton going with double grenadiers for now. Third grenadier squad in production, making their way over to the left side, getting into cover. Pyos taking control of strategic points over here on the right before making their way over towards the fuel.
The new grenadier squad is ready. Enemy has spotted us.
Pyos firing on conscripts. They make their way into this building to engage those Pyos at range. Neither side taking control of the fuel here. Pyos trying to squeeze into the capture circle without losing the benefits of green cover, but clearly that's not happening. And Barton will simply retreat them, unable to safely capture this fuel. Conscripts leave their position in the house and get the fuel under control, and Barton's infantry all heads left to get the munitions and fuel under control, and this squad of combat engineers clearly won't be able to do anything against them by themselves, and we're actually going to see a few munitions cache going up for T3dgO on the cutoff to protect it. Should he later make his way over to the left side, this may help against grenadiers trying to go for his cutoff point. And he's also feeded a penal battalion rather than a sniper, which I'm surprised by, because they're medium range infantry on a long range map, whereas the sniper is an extremely long range unit. Conscripts taking control of the fuel and strategic points. A second squad of conscripts move to grab this strategic point as well. Penal battalions will get the second victory point in the center under their control. Combat engineers will retreat immediately on sight from those grenadiers, and we have a 4 grenadier opening from Barton.
Capture complete.
Penal battalion doesn't like that engagement. He's going to disengage away from those 2 grenadier squads, not having enough supporting infantry in range. Instead, choosing to engage this grenadier squad here. Needs to clean up that Pyo squad first. Whoa! That Pyo squad is trying to circle strafe the flamethrower model, but it didn't work. That is some very delicate and intricate micro right there. That's not exactly something I've ever seen pulled off. Penal battalion falls very low, and these 2 squads of grenadiers in the south move up into the retreat path to try and work on them. So they will be forced to retreat, getting away with just a little bit of health remaining. These 2 conscript squads continue to protect this cutoff point right here. Barton loses 2 models on a Pyo squad compared to 4 models on a penal battalion. The engagement's not going very well for T3dgO. And Barton's going to execute a cutoff maneuver with these 2 grenadier squads next. This grenadier squad working on the center victory point. Conscripts are going to move to counter. 1 squad of grenadiers available here in the north. Conscripts need to get into cover or close into short range to win this engagement. 2 conscripts there already go down. 1 grenadier model goes down. These grenadiers working the munitions continue to take them, and this squad of grenadiers pulls away from the right side to flank that squad of conscripts. Another squad of grenadiers on the left flank of these conscripts. Ooh, it's a really nice volley on them while they're still in red cover, and that's the first squad wipe of the game. T3dgO will need to try to trade with this M3 to bring things back even. We can get that flamethrower squad to chase down a grenadier squad on retreat. May be able to make something happen. Mine's going down on the left side from his combat engineers, moving to take the fuel next. Penal battalion jumps into the car and heads left, so he will get cut off completely here on the right side. having not dedicated any units over there to counter. He's already a little behind for manpower. He's actually a lot behind for manpower. He's purchased field infirmary and Molotovs and a munitions cache, and he's teched up and built an M3. That's a lot of manpower invested into non-infantry things, which is why he's now only got 3 squads and his opponent has 5. 2 squads actually, only 2 combat capable squads since he has not purchased a flamethrower on these combat engineers. To Barton's 5 combat capable squads. No minesweeper or flamethrower upgrade on Barton's Pyos yet. And he is now teching up Battle Phase 1 into a Tier 2 building, purchasing himself a scout car for protection against his opponent's scout car. Grenadiers will immediately leave this building when that penal battalion reveals themselves, trying to take advantage of vision blockers to prevent themselves from getting burst by the flamethrower. Scout car is pulling back to take territory instead of engage, which is giving his opponent a lot of time to mobilize this counter. And this scout car may be in a lot of danger. I think it's trapped right here. It will have to pull out like this, exposing its rear armor. Although Barton is actually moving around the left flank. Waiting for his 222 upgrade to complete. Pyos will move to provide vision. LMG Grenadiers are in the building. Conscripts on the rear here do not have AT grenades researched. Perfectly executed maneuver by Barton's scout car right there. And that thing's gonna go down. It is destroyed. There are mines over here, but that scout car couldn't get itself to the protective zone of those mines in time to bait that scout car in. Penal battalion falling low to Grenadiers on the right flank will be forced to retreat, and shock troops have been fielded, having chosen Soviet shock army. That's going to be a tough commander to make work on this map, this very long-range map. Be surprised if he can pull that off. We might be looking at another squad wipe there. Gets wiped. Shock troops in close range. On those Grenadiers will force them from the building. Grenade toss. Ooh, nicely placed. If he had placed that a little more north, that could have been a wipe. They were quite bunched. 222 moves to engage the munitions cache. If he can get that cleaned up and cut off t3dgO's resources on the left, he'll have a huge advantage over him. That early investment into shock troops, early investments into field infirmary, all 3 upgrades, a cache, and tech. He's very behind now compared to his opponent. 5 squads of Grenadiers, Panzer Grenadiers coming out of the field, scout cars. Barton scout cars alive, t3dgO scout car dead, so a lot of t3dgO's decisions are putting him on the back foot here early in the game. And he's going tier 1 to tier 2, so he's going to spend even more manpower on tech. He must feel like he needs a field gun maybe to deal with that. I'm not sure. Penal battalion moves to engage Grenadiers here. He couldn't decide which squad to engage though, and takes a lot of damage before he ever gets a flame burst off. Down to 3 men already. Flamethrower unloading on the Grenadiers in the building, takes out 1 model, 2 models. Barton makes a kind of a late retreat, but he will preserve the squad, and these Grenadiers chase away the penal battalion there. Shock troops making their way back to the right side should be able to win the engagement and start taking territory over here. PPSHs have been upgraded on this conscript squad, which is being chased into the base, but takes only 1 loss, should be fine. Scout car has miraculously not hit any mines. Panzer Grenadiers might hit that mine. Might hit both of those mines. Scout car making its way back over towards the right side. I'm wondering what he's going to purchase out of his tier 2 structure to try to turn this game around. Having spent so much on low tech, he really needs to make that decision pay off. Still no sniper investment, no field guns either on this long range map, so he is struggling. Purchase short range upgrade on his conscripts, a flamethrower on a penal battalion, on crossing in the woods. I don't think he's going to be able to make these upgrades work. Grenadiers are just having a field day. Penal battalion trying to win a 2v1 engagement will force 1 retreat but not win the engagement. Combat engineers Throwing down more mines, making their way for the center VP to try and slow the drain. Panzer Grenadiers did hit the mine over here, falling quite low, will be forced to retreat. Squad is not wiped, fortunately. Shock troops making their way over to the right side to get some fuel under control. Barton continues to camp this house and utilize the scout car as a very effective counter-harassment unit. Will shut down that squad of shock troops easily, since they have no anti-vehicle utility, and it just goes to show how useful guards might have been on this map over shocks, especially against Barton's particular build. Shock troops haven't had much of an impact at all. I think they've been forced to retreat twice now and have won 0 engagements. Field gun making its way to the right side. Penal battalion reinforcing here in the base. Conscripts trying to take back control of this strategic point. Oh, I didn't even see that mine right there. Lots of mines. Oh, another squad forced to retreat by a mine. There they go. 1 model remaining. So, mines paying off over here on the left side, forcing retreats and inflicting manpower bleed. But that scout car has not hit one yet. Combat engineers making their way up the center will be forced away. Field gun needs to be careful not to expose itself to those Grens, and the penal and shock troop squads reinforcing and healing up here in the base. It's trying to convince those Grenadiers to jump on that mine, I think. Can't quite do it. Molotov convinces them to reposition, but nothing more than that. The Grenadiers will pull back to safety for now. Scout car awaiting some repairs. Minesweeper upgraded on these Pios by Barton. Good decision. And he's also made his way to Tier 3. He's already purchased Battle Phase 2. He feels sufficiently ahead in manpower to be able to justify that purchase, and fuel. I don't know if he spotted this field gun or not. Probably not. Second field gun in production now. Alright, now he definitely knows there's a field gun. So I'm curious to see what Barton's going to get out of that Tier 3. If he goes Ostwind, he'll have to have a really dramatic impact with it. Having spotted a field gun and penal battalions, he knows that his opponent spent a ton of fuel on early tech structures, which means an Ostwind will hit the field well before any Soviet tanks, and he'll have a really long window of opportunity. When you see both low tech tiers from a Soviet player, that means you have a huge opportunity to capitalize on that fuel investment early. Hit the field with a light vehicle quickly and try and shut down, or not a light vehicle, but a light tank or medium tank, and try to shut down your opponent who has invested so much into low tech units. You won't have a mobile counter to your own tanks. When you see shock troops, you generally assume shock rifle, Soviet shock army. Oh no, he's seen PPSHs though, so he knows Soviet shock army means that there are no late game Collins either, so he's completely free to go full tier 3 and just spam Panzer IVs for victory, and as long as he can keep them out of the arc of fire of his opponent's field guns, he should be okay. Nice positioning on that one. Catches that scout car as he attempts to chase the shock troop squad down, and he will preserve that shock troop squad with that AT gun positioning right there. His penal battalion unfortunately will not be so lucky, getting gunned down on retreat as they overextended over here on the right side. The second AT gun was trying to move up for a shot on that scout car, but I couldn't make it into an effective range in time and will be forced to disengage back towards TEJO's base, which means Barton now has control of both fuel points. All defensive mines, I think, have been defused or stepped on, except for that one.
Field gun standing by. Soldiers ready. Supply sector under attack.
And he will go tier 3. Tier 1 for 1 penal battalion, tier 2 for 2 field guns. He got a lot of usage out of this structure, very little usage. M3 and a penal battalion out of this structure. Both of those units now dead. I was expecting sniper, it's not what we saw, so some pretty weird decisions. Molotov toss on those grenadiers will prompt them to reposition. Conscripts falling a little lower, going to retreat. Scout car moving to engage. Does need to be careful with these 2 field guns in the area. He's going to circle around left to be safe. Grenade toss, not really on target. Shock troops jumping into cover here. Will be forced to retreat, falling too low to those LMG Grens without support. Teller mine going down in the road. Grenadiers protecting this area. Panzer Grenadiers getting the victory point under control. TEJO is now triple capped. Needs to make some sort of miracle impact with his first tier 3 unit, but it's going to be late compared to Barton's tier 3 unit, which is already on the field. First Panzer IV, probably going to get a second one, or start transitioning into doctrinal units. Nice minesweeper play right there, getting up that mine on the cutoff, screening the way for his Panzer IV to advance. With the field gun still here, though, it will be difficult. What is this? Fuel cache going up. He doesn't think he's going to be able to engage in such a way as to get fuel back under his control, so he wants to boost his fuel income this way, but I don't know if he has the manpower to support that decision. He is very behind on the fuel game, but if he doesn't spend manpower to get some territory under his control, he may not be able to break this containment. Sending most of his forces left. Rifle grenade on the shock troops. Smoke grenade tossed. Field gun moves up for a shot on the scout car, but it misses, and the scout car will react and pull back to safety. Panzer IV moving to assist in this engagement, try and screen away these infantry. Both field guns are available to support here, though. Panzer IV is going to take a safe route around the left flank, and another cache is going up here. Shock troops moving to screen away those minesweeper pyos. Field gun nicely placed to counter that Panzer IV. It needs to pull back to safety. Scout car also needs to pull back to safety. Shock troops that are successful in screening away those minesweeper pyos. Panzer grenadiers moving up will prompt the cancellation of this cache, however. Mortar moving up into an aggressive location. Shock troops and conscripts trying to set up some sort of flank. Almost probably could have got engine damage on that Panzer IV, but disengages when he sees this blob of grenadiers coming. It's just two squads, it's not really a blob. We've all been shown what a real blob is. That's not even close to a blob. A real blob has pseudopods and tendrils of smoke erupting out of it, and flame bursts everywhere, and bazookas getting fired. This is not a blob. Calling that a blob is an insult to real blobs everywhere. Fuel caches have both been constructed here, bringing T3dgO to plus 16 fuel despite his extremely poor map control situation. Means he will get a tier T-34 out eventually. But he's in a very rough situation, as we can see. Every time he overextends a squad like this, there's an extremely good chance of it getting wiped. Panzer IV is pulled back to Barton's base for now to receive some repairs, and T3dgO is still triple capped and losing manpower in pretty much every engagement. Field guns are a little exposed in the red cover right there. Their left flank also completely unprotected. Combat engineers just got wiped. Panzer grenadiers are a serious threat from the right flank. Only 2 squads of combat capable infantry. T3dgO is really struggling. Grenadiers continuing to protect in the house and green cover position over here. That shock troop squad should be easy to deal with solo. Panzer IV engaging the fuel cache on the cutoff. It will be destroyed soon by mortar and scout car fire. He's going to stay at maximum range just to be safe. Doesn't know where those field guns are. Or he might. It's a Vet 2 scout car, so he actually has extremely long vision with that. Apparently he does have vision of this field gun. That scout car. Panzer IV. Receives a little bit of engine damage, needs to pull back the shock troops. Also actually forced a retreat over here. We'll be able to get a little bit of territory under control. But it's only going to be temporary. That Panzer IV will be able to react quite quickly and get them cleaned up. Barton working on the center fuel point. He does decrew one field gun. Second one takes a rifle grenade, falling quite low. That scout car is going to take forever to destroy that thing. No, barely does any damage with its autocannon. Soviet mortar has been fielded. Soviet mortar has been fielded and inflicting some damage on the grenadier squad. They are going to be forced to retreat. Doesn't quite feel comfortable trying to get that cut off. Scout car is taking a lot of field gun fire. T3dgO loses vision, however, and the scout car will be able to pull back to safety. Shock troops making their way to stop the victory point drain. He is now about 400 points behind almost. And that Panzer IV is going to push him away there on the right side and maintain the triple cap. T3dgO rapidly running out of time with which to make something happen. He's collected the resources for a T-34 finally, but I certainly don't know if that would be able to break his containment unless he got a huge engagement against Barton's Panzer IV. He's left himself a little bit vulnerable to tanks by going Panzer Schrecks as his only real anti-tank force. And Barton has chosen Lightning Wars up to 10 command points, floating resources like crazy while he waits for Tigers. Doesn't feel a particular need to spend resources since he's got such a good containment going, and he's just going to let that go into the bank until he finds them necessary.
Our territory is falling into enemy hands. We're under attack. Victory is slipping. The enemy. We must protect our HQ. Close air support is available.
Panzer Grenadiers will be forced to retreat right there.
What do you want?
And
We have a new T-34 standing by.
finally the T-34 rolls onto the field. If he can make something happen with this unit against the Panzer IV, he may have some space to make a comeback since he has AT guns, his opponent does not, and the Panzer Schrecks just retreated off the field. This is pretty much his last chance to make anything happen. Desperate final charge for the center victory point to try and slow things down and give him a chance to break his containment. T-34 with double AT gun support making its way forward. The Panzer IV moving up on the right flank to see if it can prevent the capture of this point. I don't know if he's got enough time. AT guns are well positioned for this push by the Panzer IV. The point is decapped. Oh, if he detonates his own teller mine right there, it could be disastrous. He gets away from his teller mine. Oh no, he perfectly baits the T-34 over it and it does nothing again. How many tournament games is that going to happen? It doesn't matter, whatever. Game over. Man, I can't believe how many teller mines I've witnessed over the last couple weeks in the tournament, where a teller mine just explodes and does nothing. Is that bug more frequent now, or is it just confirmation bias? I don't know, and that's gonna drive me nuts every time that happens. Fortunately, it has no impact on the outcome of the game. Good game, well played by Barton. After a short break, we will go into game 2.